Well, this Christmas, the credit crunch is going to have a massive effect on everybody. It's going to have a massive effect on how retailers approach shoppers, and obviously it's going to have a massive effect on how people like us going into stores spend our pound.
Consequently, that had some good feedback for you guys, because I managed to grab you both a little Macy's bear while we're out in the US.
Macy, thank you very much.
Oh, very lovely.
And I'm sure Michelle's looking at me now thinking, where's mine? So it's here.
Oh, isn't it good?
The first thing that anybody wants to do this year is take a look at the big supermarkets. Supermarkets are obviously first choice for your food and your booze, and there's some great bargains out there at the minute on both of those lines. But things like electrical goods, perfumes, clothes, all the big names now are doing clothes lines, and they're competing with the big fashion names. You know, they're looking to see what's coming out each season, ripping off the big designs, getting them into the stores quickly and selling them much, much cheaper. I was talking to the Tesco press office earlier this week. They've announced a 50% cut on just about everything throughout the store. But more importantly, from a family point of view, 60% of all toys. Wow. And they stock some of the big name brands as well. And one of the problems that Tesco's are now having is keeping up with demand. But they assure me that they're doing everything they can within their power to keep up with demand so that they can deliver a good value Christmas for everybody.
My 3 tips for this Christmas are: make a list, budget, and buy gifts that people want.
Got hold of the wrong end of the stick. I thought it was dust busting this morning. Sorry about that. I'll leave that. Quite an interesting angle, and it does fit nicely with the old credit crunch situation. What Bowie did back in 1997 is something called securitisation, which is really a job lot sale. He basically took his entire backlog catalogue, and instead of earning off the royalties, he decided he wanted the cash now so he could enjoy the funds and have less stress about worrying whether his records are going to sell. The banks did exactly the same thing with their mortgages. Now, it's not new, securitisation, but what was new was the volume and the type of products that they did that with. So it was subprime, which meant it was very, very risky, and the volume was absolutely phenomenal, particularly given that the US was lending out to people that had no incomes, etc. But of course, when they resell that, they're not telling anybody that you're buying a very high-risk product here, and everything collapsed. So it's a bit like Bowie doing exactly the same thing, and everybody all of a sudden deciding they don't want to buy David Bowie's records anymore. So the people that buy his advanced catalogue lose out in the same way that the banks lost out. Your credit file is a vital piece of information. It's the first thing any potential lender will look at. But from a credit management point of view, it also gives you an instant snapshot of your current financial situation. For example, you'll receive an overall credit score. The higher the score, the better proposition you are. The lower the score, the more likely you are to be overextending on your current financial position. It's also a very useful tool for detecting fraud. You may see things on your credit file that you're not aware of. A credit card. If you see a credit card that's been opened in Brazil, for example, it may be time to call Experian or Equifax, query that and have it removed from your credit file.
Where do you get this, this credit file from?
The biggest provider currently would be Experian. Just tap in credit file on any search engine on the internet and it will bring it up instantly. Costs you about £4 or £5 and you get the full picture of your credit file.
Credit crunch. Rather interestingly, Iceland has seen a dramatic increase in the theft of frozen legs of lamb. So it's amazing the lengths that people will go to. Yeah. So if you see anybody walking rather awkwardly out of your favourite frozen food store, perhaps it might be time to go around to their house for Sunday lunch. Some people. But in this current climate, it's really something people want to stay away from. If you have to buy on credit, if you absolutely need to do that, look for the best possible deals on the credit cards. A 0% transfer, for example, at least get your credit at the cheapest possible price. And if you can't do that, set yourself a budget for your credit. We talk about setting a budget for your Christmas presents. If you're going to buy on credit, decide how much you can afford to repay each month in the new year, and then stick to that as your budget. Otherwise, you could find yourself in trouble by